In the village of Brupch, or Duripch, Rosa Tarba was kind enough to welcome us into her house and to show us around her garden and holdings. She has lived here for 44 years. During the war, almost everybody in Abkhazia lost someone in the family, and Rosa sadly lost her 26-year-old son, Aslam. It is now 14 years since the end of the war. Abkhazia has been de facto independent but remains unrecognized by the international community. The people here during these years have been trying to develop a democratic society, and now let those people speak for themselves.
Yeah, Abkhazia is a multicultural and multi-ethnic society, and I think this is a positive characteristic of our country. There are different communities living here. For example, there is a big Armenian community that I represent. There is a Russian community, Estonian community, Greek community, and many, many others. Of course, there are problems, but every multi-ethnic country has this problem. We can coexist together in one country. What is important that there is opportunity for people of different ethnic background to realize themselves. I think I had chance to realize myself and to live comfortably in this country because I have job that I like, I can do. I have a chance to participate in the political processes that go on. I'm actively involved always in the election processes, and recently I became a member of Sukhum City Assembly. My example can show that it is possible for any ordinary person living in Abkhazia. We can say about schools, because Armenians, for example, can learn on their own language in Abkhazia, and this is not like private system or something. This is a state educational system, and there are Armenian schools, and children can go and learn on their own language.
Well, Lord Ring, it's been exactly a week since you first arrived in Abkhazia with a number of questions and thoughts. I wonder, on the basis of what you've seen and whom you've met, whether your questions have been answered and what your general impressions are now.
Well, in a week I have been up and down this small country from bottom to top, as it were, and met a lot of people, including the President, Mr. Bagapsh, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Health, some local non-government organization organizers, as well as some international NGOs. And my impression on talking to all of them is that this country is a country that is run by its own government in no uncertain terms. That, as far as I can see, there is no, not a trace of any evidence that Russians are involved in the day-to-day administration of this country. It's very much an independent going concern, except that, of course, it is in considerable economic difficulty at the moment because of the sanctions that have been imposed at the request of Georgia by the CIS and seem to have been more or less observed by the rest of the world as well. So this country doesn't get the economic assistance that a normal recognized country would. And there is still residual damage from what was an extremely destructive and cruel little war 15 years ago. Many buildings should still show signs of damage. Some have been rebuilt and rebuilt very well. And there's no doubt that the economy, although still nowhere near at the level it was, is recovering. And there are now lots of Russian tourists, although I gather nowhere near so many as there were before the war. I think the people of this country are showing very considerable determination and spirit, and they are very coherent and loyal to the notion of Abkhazia as a nation. And I have learned since I've been here that Abkhazia was a nation for 1,200 years before it was included in Georgia by Stalin in 1931. So it has got a history of standing on its own feet, and it seems very much as it is doing now, but it needs outside help, and it needs to be allowed to enter the family of nations, I think.
Mm-hmm. And there is no one you've met who gave you any indication they wish to go back to the previous situation with Abkhazia under Tbilisi's control?
No, it was difficult, of course, because I was being entertained by Abkhazia, but I kept my eyes and ears open, and I did meet Armenians, Mingrelians, a fierce Mingrelian taxi driver who drove very, very fast, but he still was in favor of this country remaining independent.
That's very, very interesting. Thank you very much for those impressions. I'm sure the people who watch this film will find them interesting too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I have tried to tell you about the Abkhazians, their land, its history, but this is the view of a visitor from outside, a non-native. Let us take a look at a group of people standing just beside the church in Dranda with their children, members of different generations, discussing in Abkhaz what they can see in the panorama opening up before them. This perhaps will give you a little better insight into what the people themselves are like than anything said by me could possibly tell you about them.